Welcome back, everybody. This is Rolling Credits. Of course, I am joined by the lovely crew here. We got Kirby, Pat, Lauren today. She's joining us. And, of course, Gums. And then there's me, Seth, just over here. Guys, Top Gun's coming out this weekend. Are you guys ready for it or what?
Yes.
You ready to hit the skies?
The Need for Speed.
Do you have the Need for Speed?
I think that's a different movie. I'm not sure.
No, that's the same movie, bro. I mean, there is a Need for Speed movie, but that's for another time, guys. So, obviously, with Top Gun coming out, it's a big-time 80s action flick. We want to talk about the fact that the 80s just had some of the best action films, action stars, one-liners, whatever you want to say there. So we wanted to break it down, some of our favorite 80s films. So with that being said, let's get this thing going. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the type of intensity I want to hear from you tonight, Gums.
I'm here for you.
You gotta have the Need for Speed. Okay.
About it.
So, are you guys excited for the Top Gun movie? And were you guys all a fan of the original? Do you think it's actually going to live up to the hype? I mean, it has a 97% on freaking Rotten Tomatoes. So, I mean, the sky's the limit at this point. So, we'll start with you, Gums. I want to hear your take on it.
Well, I just watched the original Top Gun the other day. I thought it was moved a little fast. I didn't like it. It didn't really make me have feeling for any of the characters, even if they died. There wasn't a whole lot of action, except for at the end for 5 minutes. I'm not excited about this movie. I actually think this is going to be leaps and bounds above the first movie, and I think that's why people are going to rate it better, or rate it so well. I think it's going to just be much better. It's going to have more tech, more cool planes. Am I looking forward to it? Not really. Am I going to see it? Most likely. But that's how I feel about Top Gun. Thought it was an ass movie, and this one just has to go up. So
clearly, you don't have the Need for Speed, sir.
I think a lot of those too is like I think you just got like low bar is gonna have great expectations too. I mean, like I bet you end up coming out of this one because you're thinking so low of it. You're gonna be like, man, the movie was great. Like,
I think that's what everybody did. I think that's what everybody did. They said this is so much better than the original. That
I don't know,
awesome.
man. There's a big cult following for the OG Top Gun. That like
I know
people like fucking love that movie. So
I know, and that's why I couldn't understand it. I just couldn't. I was like, they love this. This is what they love. But then I realized it must have been a certain type of people that really love this because, like, I mean, they portrayed the military pretty well, just like a bunch of crazy motherfuckers talking shit with one-liners all day. But other than that,
we were actually down the street from the house in California, in San Diego, where they filmed some of the scenes.
Oh yeah,
right in Oceanside.
Yep.
Lauren, what do you think? Gotta go ladies next here.
Well, like you're saying, the original has a cult following. So with that being said, I feel like the critics would be a little more harsh on the new one. So the fact that it has good reviews makes me feel like it is actually going to be good because there is that scrutiny of, whenever you have a really good movie and then 30 years later you have the sequel or the next one, people are very harsh towards it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like the group that saw it were probably teens to young, like 20-year-olds in the 80s. So that's who the big following is. Me, I grew up, I didn't see it obviously when it came out, but I did see it years later. So I have a different appreciation for it than the people that saw it in the theater when it did come out. Mm-hmm. So I feel like those people are going to come, and also having this being an older movie and having, a sequel, I guess you would call it, is going to spread the fan base. A lot of people are going to start watching the original and trying to, hype that up. I mean, it's part of my studio, so I mean, like, I know how the sales are going, so I'm like, yeah, it's going good.
Nice. I do think at the very end you brought that really good funky point. I think it's gonna be funny to watch, like, fan bases kind of turn into like almost like how Star Wars fan bases can kind of be, where it's like you might have this like weird hipster group that is like all OG original fucking Top Gun or die, like, like none of this fucking new age bullshit, right? But like everyone else can be like the second one was just a better movie, like flat out. Like that'll be like what the masses do.
Well, to kind of compare it, Blade Runner, the other Blade Runner
Love
came
the new
out.
Blade Runner.
Well, the new one came out and everyone was just like, well, how can you top the other one? So everyone going into the theater was very like
Snarky.
hostile. Yeah. So
Blade
the
Runner was
expectations
like
were low.
Blade Runner was like Dune for me, like the new Dune. It was just visually beautiful.
Oh, so
Yeah.
visually beautiful.
But
I love both Blade Runners.
yeah. But the first one, I mean,
Not to get all geeky,
Harrison
but
Ford.
the novel is different. It's a little bit better.
Lauren,
I
you
like
got to
the novel.
cast your vote here. Which one?
Sorry.
We can't play both sides of the fence.
No.
Sorry. I'm on the fence.
what Blade Runner is technically an '80s action film, so we can bring it up again a little bit here.
True. Very true. Very true.
Kirby, what are your thoughts here?
I was excited to watch it. Just because I did watch this movie when I was younger. And I don't fall into that camp of like, I'm one of those people that is a part of that cult following, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It was entertaining. Definitely not as heavy on the action as a lot of the movies coming out at that point in time, but it was an all right movie. I am, of course, like more excited because we're going to see, the upgrades in like in technology, stuff like that. We're going to see some cooler visuals, and you're going to see kind of the continuation of that story, because from the trailer and stuff, they're bringing back some of the original characters and stuff, mainly of course Tom Cruise and Maverick, but like you see Goose's son is a part of the academy, and like there's a whole confrontation in that story arc there. So I'm going to be interested to see how they kind of play that whole thing out.
Yeah, and I from what I've heard is in typical Tom Cruise fashion, he like does like 100% of his stunts or whatever. So he's like actually
course.
flying a fucking fighter jet.
Breaking
Like,
his ankle.
Speaking of that, I saw an interview with Miles Teller, which I'm fucking stoked that I love him. I'm stoked he's in it. He came on the interview, basically said that Tom Cruise had all of the like people who are supposed to be flying the planes actually like get their license or like go through like the training that like the military has to go through in order to be on the film. Like he wouldn't let them on unless they freaking like were training for that. Like that's how crazy Tom Cruise is.
which
I
is
was
the
gonna
most
say,
Tom
this
Cruise
is what
thing I've ever
hurts me.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what hurts me, and I think that it's going to hurt all his movies for me, is that it's Tom Cruise's arrogance as to what has to happen for Tom Cruise and around Tom Cruise, and people do it. And I think that for me, if that movie was an 8, I'm going to give it a fucking 7. Just because it's fucking
Just
Tom
out of
Cruise
spite.
doing it.
Like,
Well, they do
I
it
don't
because
even
it's
know
going
if
to be a
it's
hit.
spite, but it's just like this energy that Tom Cruise gives off is like demonic
It's-
for me. Like I don't
it's a
like
little
it.
much.
It gets
And I
people
can
to the
feel it.
theater though. So
Yeah, I mean,
he's
yeah,
laughing
sure.
to the bank. Like,
Yeah.
True.
I don't think
I
he's
don't think
laughing
he's
at all.
offended.
I can't ever
He's
see Tom Cruise laughing unless it's like a fake laugh to
Guys,
test
he's-
his laughing skills.
He's in the Church of Scientology,
Scientology
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Scientology took away his humor. It's
Yeah.
forced.
and this is how we get canceled.
Or unless he has that crazy fucking like character break laugh that he had in the Oprah show where he was like fixing
Exactly.
something on
Oh,
the
yeah.
couch all goddamn
Yeah.
day. Look
Yeah.
like
I just-
an absolute psychopath. Like
It's just the energy this guy gives. I just can't.
He's only
But
had
I'll
one.
see the movie.
I feel like he's only had one big bomb on the box office, and that was the Mummy film, which should have just been so much
Oh
better.
yeah.
Oh, that was a terrible
Yeah.
film. But you're
Yeah.
right. That was probably the only one that really was a bust.
Yeah.
The other ones are pretty good.
Oblivion was sick. Mm-hmm. Pat, did you give your full answer on Top Gun yet?
not really. I was semi a fan of the original. I wasn't. I like Kirby. I wasn't like a diehard Top Gun guy, or whatever. So I'm definitely excited for the second one. I've seen a little bit of kind of some of the background stuff, like about like kind of the hype on a lot of the movies and what a lot of the new movie and a lot of the effects that have been going into it and shit like that. So I think it's gonna look cool. I think to Kirby's point, it's like making action movies of that style in today's day and age is just arguably usually better, just because you're dealing with better tech. It's kind of hard to fuck it up. And the ones that do fuck it up royally. Like they're just bad fucking movies. Like they're just terrible.
Michael Bay.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
Top,
you know what I mean?
Michael Bay
They're
in
just
it.
shitty movies. Like, yeah, like
I don't think Top Gun was winning any awards for storyboard. I'll tell you that.
yeah,
much. So,
exactly. I don't think that's like the what they're going for.
people
here,
wanted to see
Like,
aircraft shit do aircraft
Yeah.
shit. So this is
Yeah.
going to be definitely better for sure.
yeah.
What's that? That group of like fighter, the Blue Angels or whatever, where they just
Oh,
like
yeah,
flying
yeah.
around from town. That's how I feel about Top Gun.
Yeah.
It's just like you go to watch, like you said, Gums, you go to watch the sweet stunts that they're doing in the movie, the really cool looking planes. I honestly
Yep.
don't really remember
Couple
the
hover jets.
Yeah, I don't remember the first Top Gun, so I need to rewatch it. It's been a while. I remember liking it. It was a great film, but I mean, I'm going to see the new one. Just everything you guys said, it just sounds great. I mean, the fact that we get upgraded technology, all of that, I think everything's just going to look so much better. Story-wise, I don't know what to expect, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that the set of actors they got in there,
They're great.
I think that's So like I said, I think it's going to be a good movie, but I'm not basing this off the first Top Gun or anything. 'Cause
No,
I watched
no.
it literally 2 days ago, and I was like, if I can make a woman fall in love with me within the first 10 minutes of meeting her, like they did in this Top Gun, oh my god, that's a superpower. I don't know. It's just
I was
she
gonna
didn't-
say because like where
Shit
are
didn't
the
go
rest of us
together.
blowing it then? Like
Yeah, right?
where the
Yeah.
fuck? Yeah, what the fuck is
Yeah.
this?
It was
Like,
like, he like made a teacher fall in love with him within like 20
Yeah.
minutes, and then it was just kind of like, this movie's moving a little fast. No, like the pace. There's no dilemma here.
I need that. I need that Tom Cruise energy. I'm like fucking Jonah Hill from 21 Jump Street walking through high school. Hey, just hey, looking like Slim Shady over here. I'm glad you guys got the reference. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
So continuing on the Tom Cruise trend here, I gotta ask, what's your guys' favorite Tom Cruise movie? Because he's got a plethora of hits. And I'm gonna start with you, Pat.
mine's actually not gonna be a Tom Cruise movie per se. It's gonna be actually his role in
Oh, yeah.
Tropic Thunder.
Oh yeah, I knew you were going.
Okay.
His role in Tropic
Yes.
Thunder
Yes.
is probably one of my favorite, mainly because more than anything else, I didn't know it was him
Yeah.
until the fucking credits rolled.
Yeah.
And it said starring Tom Cruise, and I was like, homie, what? Like, that shit, dude, when he screams in the mic, just like, I will go scorch fucking earth on your ass.
Like, I will
It's
take
just, I
this
will
phone
fuck you
and
up.
I will literally fuck you.
Yeah.
That was
And
the
it's
real
just
Tom
like-
Cruise.
Yeah.
And that
Tom Cruise wasn't
interaction, that interaction, like, that dynamic of him and Bill Hader in that office every single time.
And Matthew
It was
McConaughey,
fucking-
McConaughey too.
Yeah, it was just fucking incredible. I will always love that. I think that's better than all that. His like few scenes in that movie better than all of his movies. In my opinion, I think it's fucking great.
Fair.
And Robert Downey Jr. in that movie was fucking fantastic.
That movie is fucking amazing.
Lauren,
It's actually a tie. Legend and Interview with the Vampire.
ooh, Interview
Hey,
with
somebody
Vampire's
brought up
great.
Interview with the Vampire. Love that.
Yep.
I just rewatched it actually a few weeks ago. It's on Netflix now. Great film.
And we're watching that tonight. Yeah.
I'm
We're
go
going to stay
watch
up until
Top Gun.
1 in the morning to watch Interview with the Vampire.
Fair. I will not be awake.
Like, won't be me.
Kirby is yours. Interview with the Vampire too. You're just like a vampire.
No, it is
couple.
not. No. Mine's actually okay. Might be a bit of an unpopular choice, but mine was actually Reacher,
Oh, yeah.
like the Jack Reacher film.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave this now.
I know your feelings on this because we got the show and we got jacked up Thad Castle
Yeah.
like eating motherfuckers. But I just really liked the story and like the way that the Jack Reacher film with Tom Cruise kind of played out. And while he was small, he's a small man. Let's be real. He's a small dude. He's a little guy.
That's a lot of thunder.
I think that he played the character well enough for me. I personally like the show better than the movie, but as far as Tom Cruise movies go, I like Reacher.
And going back to the whole, he does his own stunts and stuff like that is his age is getting up there. So I think it was the last Mission Impossible where he broke his ankle.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
jumping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now-
It was like
And
jumping
then,
from
like-
like roof to roof or something.
Now he's just
You
jumping
see
off
the
mountains.
slow mo of just like ah.
Yeah, now he's just jumping off mountains. The last shot in the new trailer where he rides the motorcycle off the cliff, he actually did that a bunch of times.
That's some what is it?
All right.
The Great Escape, Steve McQueen
Yeah.
stuff right there. Yeah.
I saw
And I'm out.
Tom Cruise is going to space next. He's going to be the first person to film up there, which is also insane to me. Fucking Tom Cruise. Gums is going to steal my favorite Tom Cruise movie. I know it.
Nah, I got a three-way
Risky
tie.
business.
There you go.
Let's hear it.
I got a three-way tie. My three-way tie is Minority Report, Oblivion, and Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
So okay,
Those are
so
great.
it's more sci-fi.
Those three for me are I love them in sci-fi. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not that I love Tom Cruise. It's more so that he picks these roles of these movies that I really enjoy. So like anybody could have probably played that role or something, but like he really knows how to pick his movies and he knows what he's good at. And I got to give him credit for that. That's what
I never saw Edge of Tomorrow. I don't
great.
remember that was a really crazy concept or whatever.
Yeah,
was,
it's a
that,
big
was that a really
concept.
good movie?
It was good.
Yeah, it was
there's
a crazy cool concept.
There's a 90% chance I have that movie poster in the closet right now.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a sequel coming out at
'Cause
some
it's-
point,
yeah.
Is it really?
It's a graphic novel, isn't it?
supposedly.
Which movie?
Of
Edge of Tomorrow?
Edge of Tomorrow. They've been talking about doing another one with Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise.
It's like die, repeat, live, die, repeat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't figure out the name. Like the theater came out with Edge of Tomorrow, and then the DVD is like live, die, repeat.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't
They
it
can figure it out.
initially that it was Edge of Tomorrow and like the slogan was live, die, repeat, right?
Yeah.
Or something like
yeah.
that.
And then it changed
That's
it.
like how it went down,
Whoa.
and then they kept fucking it up like in marketing like 5 or 6 times. It was like all over the place.
I have to go grab the poster now. All right,
Yes.
Go
intermission.
grab it. Intermission.
Intermission,
I'll give
we gotta get the
Vicks
exhibit
Vapor
out.
Rub.
Vicks that
Vapor
word from our
Rub.
sponsor.
Lavender scent.
Don't live, die, repeat without your Vicks Vapor Rub.
Yeah.
I can't believe she. that's
Live
the
on the
full
edge of
poster.
tomorrow.
Papa.
You should hang it
Edge
up.
of Tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like the slogan was
Harley
live, die,
Quinn.
repeat.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
sorry.
that's cool.
Huh.
I'd hang the Harley Quinn up.
She has a lot of posters from her job.
So
Anyway,
yeah, I'm gonna give my response here, which I'm surprised none of you guys said this, but I absolutely love The Last Samurai. That movie is super good.
okay.
It's a little long.
Samurai?
The Last Samurai.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I heard what
Sorry,
you said.
whenever I put these on, my glasses like do Terminator.
What the fuck?
You didn't like The Last Samurai, Gums?
Hey, dude, I thought it was fine.
What about? I feel like War of the Worlds. You're a big War of the Worlds guy.
Nah, I actually didn't like that one.
No, I wasn't a big.
I thought Last Samurai was kind of boring, but somebody recently just came out and said something about that was like the best representation for the Asian community. It was like an Asian dude that said it or something.
Oh,
I don't know
The
what the hell he was
funniest
talking
thing,
about,
which
but-
it's just the funniest thing because Tom Cruise is the fucking lead character.
Yeah.
but he
What the fuck
rocks
is
it.
that about?
And then he gets to be the last fucking samurai. Like, no,
Yeah,
no.
homie, what?
No.
I also am a sucker for all of the Mission Impossible movies. They're great.
Are you? I'm
True.
I can't do them.
They're like
I
I can.
it's like Fast
They're
and Furious
getting-
at this point.
I'll watch them. But they're definitely not like up there in my favorites.
The first one was.
It's getting to that. They're getting into that Fast and Furious tier where it's like, okay, we could have done 2 or 3 of these. I could have gotten past it. Now we're like 7 deep, and we're like, dude, guys, like.
There's probably some like
What are
real
we
beef
doing?
going on between the franchises where he's like, I'm gonna make more Mission Impossibles than fucking Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
And Vin
Vin
Diesel's
Diesel.
like, no, you're not. Family.
No, dude, Vin Diesel's gonna
Family.
ask
I
him
got
to fucking
family.
join up in the next film. After this next Mission Impossible, it's over. So
It's gonna be called The Last Street Racer.
Exactly.
Starring
Mission
Tom Cruise.
Impossible
Tom
Tokyo
Cruise.
Drift.
The Last
Mission
Street
failed.
Racer.
The last one, mission failed.
mission failed. Do you accept to start street racing for this team? if you accept. So getting off the Tom Cruise topic here, because obviously
Thank you.
everyone's some of us are as excited for Top Gun. Oh, we lost Gums.
Uh-oh.
Well,
See
where'd
you.
I go?
He's
Hi.
I have no idea.
Looks like Pepto
Hey, I'm
Bismol.
still here.
We're having technical difficulties, people. It's okay.
Hey, I'm
Um,
back. I'm back. I'm back.
But we wanted to also talk about all of the 80s action films because there's just so many good ones. One of the first things I wanted to discuss with you guys is why it seems like during that time there were so many more action, like more martial art action stars than there are today. Is there a reason why you think, there were more during that time and why it's kind of like faded away from that? And I'm going to start with you, Gums.
I think a lot of it probably has to do with CGI. and like the ability to like do all these wired stunts. Because back then you actually had to kind of know what you're doing or spend the time to choreograph it and learn it.
Steroids. Oh, sorry.
And if you did it wrong, it would look real corny. You couldn't really use it, right? So you kind of wanted someone who's already pretty professional at it to be doing it. It came off way better. But at the same time, like they're the last of a dying breed. I want them to come back. I want another one. I think the last one we have running right now is Jason Statham. I think he's like our last martial artists action hero, and I need that breed to come back. I need that to keep continuing. So
I'm gonna let Lauren and the other guys go, but I feel like you're missing. There's so many good action, like martial art actors out there still.
For sure. Who do you got?
Lee.
Jet Li hasn't made a movie since the 80s.
No.
Donnie Yen,
God.
the guy, he was in Star Wars. He was the blind guy. Tony Jaa.
Oh, I guess Yen would be.
Yeah, Iko
But,
Uwais.
he
Yen
don't,
would be up there,
but he's
yeah.
not they're not starring
The
in their own
Ip
films,
Man,
so
right?
that's where I limit
I think that what kind of,
Yeah, he
especially
did
where
that,
Gums is referring to, is the same way that like Chuck Norris was like
Yeah.
the guy in
Yeah.
certain. But it's like I think we think of these things differently now, though. And
Yeah.
I'll kind of jump the gun here because I'm gonna tail a little bit off of his answer. Is that like even in the 70s and 80s, we think of like martial artist actors. It's like, yeah, you had like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and like a couple of these other items. But like a lot of it too was more of you had big roided out action stars that were, you know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Chuck Norris and these guys. But you still, I don't know, it's like it's weird putting them in this category of martial artist actors and whatnot, because like Bruce Lee's whole thing was jujitsu, and like not like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I mean like OG Japanese jiu-jitsu that encompassed like hundreds of different styles of fighting all at one time. You know, okay, and was able to use them all very naturally, right? Versus you, and then in that time, I think that worked very well. But I think that the reason you had actors specifically catered to that in the 80s was you had a lot of war movies. You had a lot of OG superhero movies that all required that style of film. And I think that that's changed in today's day. We have war movies that are different now. They're more espionage and CIA based. So you have like that type of actor has changed. So you got to think like more like Jason Bourne. And like that type of character is like kind of what's more in the new age of like a martial artist character. So I think that they exist in the same tier, but the type of actor has changed and what we expect out of them.
So the brute became less sexy and the intellectual has become more sexy, right?
It's become less
over
of
time.
like we need that wide shot and the stage is set and it's just two guys on a mountain fucking decking it out. That's not the fight anymore. It's nitty gritty, dirty in a building with the camera shaking, so you can't really see as much. You know what I mean? It's supposed to feel heavy kind of thing, and that's more of what. So it now feels more like a brawl, but it is still martial arts based and focused. I just don't think it's necessarily gone. I think the film has changed.
I was gonna say too, and I think that it's still there, but it's more like I feel like martial arts is like bigger in foreign countries. Like you have movies like The Raid and things like that, where it's straight up just martial arts. Now those movies are super sweet, but they don't get as much credit over here in the States, and I think that's also an issue.
Yeah, like in the 80s, they had it. Like the martial arts action stars had a real platform where they were actually the stars of the movie, and it was big to watch. And now, like you said, we have Ip Man and we've got The Raid, and they really don't get any love in our studios anymore. And it's kind of weird.
Sports. Oh, sorry.
Well, plus I think a lot of those movies too now it's you put the martial art, the fighter, you make him like a side character, like so then someone that the superstar can fight and that we all know is fucking a crazy fighter and can do some like gnarly shit, and loses that fight to the protagonist, right? That's kind of more the direction I feel like.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Like Lethal Weapon.
Good old Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Lauren, Kirby, what do you guys got?
Well, I think that we saw like in the 80s with like the rise of like the really big action movies, that Shanghai kung fu style of movie just kind of bled over into them, and that's where you saw the rise of a lot of those like those martial arts action movie stars. Like you saw like the Bruce Lees, the Chuck Norris, let's see who else would be there, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Cynthia Rothrock,
Steven
Jet
Seagal.
Li, like I don't count Steven Seagal. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Have you seen him run?
That man was the most full of shit
Have you seen him
motherfucker.
run like a penguin?
It's Steven Seagal, man. He'll wrist lock you down to the ground.
Yeah, bro, you're done.
I mean,
No,
he's
no.
no John McClane.
But like, so they just happened to like coincide at the right time, and they became very popular. I think as the kind of action movies tapered off a little bit, that martial arts scene kind of receded back into like where it originated. So I believe they're still making those in like Japan, China, wherever like those studios are, where they have the wires and like they're doing like the crazy stunts and all that. It's just not as popular here. It just kind of ran its course. So with that, we saw the decline in the popularity of those types of actors. Who knows with Cobra Kai is bringing it back. We'll see that come again.
Oh God.
And then you have
Martial
things like-
arts is popular again, so who knows?
Crouching
I
Tiger,
also-
Hidden Dragon.
I also too just think that kind of like to your point, like where you say martial arts is popular again. That like, I don't think it's a coincidence maybe now that like MMA as a concept is much more popular today than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Yep.
And I think because of that too, the way that MMA is, like a lot of those 80s and in even 90s like kind of martial arts focused movies, you see a lot of Jackie Chan films, and what are they? It's a lot of like kind of more like Taekwondo or karate based action fighting kind of thing, of like a lot of distance, a lot of kicks, and kind of what that is. Versus now you watch a lot of these movies and stuff like that, you see people now that are more of like this fighter is not meant to be like just some specific type of fighter that fits into one category. They're just meant to be like this like super soldier who can do all these different things, that can like take someone to the ground and pound. So it's supposed to be gritty and gnarly. That like I don't think it's a coincidence that as that's become more popular in like real life, that's kind of what is now we see from combat and action films and movies.
I would love another Never Back Down. Not that second one bullshit, but that original
first one
Never
was
Back
great.
Down. Give me another one of those.
Maybe recast Amber Heard, but
Yeah.
She played a role.
I don't know. That girl can throw hands.
Hey,
hey,
it's the only role she can get left. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I
Her
was
heart
gonna.
left. Oh,
Bumps.
I know,
Good shot.
Lauren, you still have to give your point, but I wanted to make one last comment here. Is like, and I think one of the things that we're seeing is that I feel like the Asian culture, things like that, are starting to make its way more into like our society with like anime, things like that. So I feel like it is opening up more of a ground for those types of action stars, things like that. Because you have like Mortal Kombat, which was mostly like an Asian casting. There was like they were casted for the roles from the games, and then you have other movies and things like that. So I think that's kind of playing a part where it's bringing this back into the limelight.
Am I the only one that every time somebody says Mortal Kombat, they immediately want to scream Mortal Kombat?
no, well, he was talking about the Universal,
The newest
the Universal
movie.
actor, and all I could think is Universal Soldier by Jacques Van
Yes.
I always want to yell Mortal Kombat
Every time.
every time. It never fails. And then the other, everybody knows that little. Hey, such a that gives me the goosebumps every time, man.
Whoop it! What is it? He's like, whoop it!
Harry and the Henderson, the best martial artists we ever had.
Lauren, what are your thoughts here?
I think it is all about the timing. It was Reagan's, USA. So they kind of jumped on that fad, and I think Arnold Schwarzenegger had a really good agent because he was pretty much in everything. And
Oh, yeah.
Going back to the whole in the 80s, there was some things that happened that wouldn't be able to happen now. So roids, it's not so political. Like some of the 80s movies you watch now and you have someone upset about it. Like So it was just a time where you could be, you know, you had all the chick flick romance, and the guys want to go see action movies and stuff like that. So I do think that it was a fad and everyone jumped on it. So it was the timing. Just like a couple years ago, all about Fast and the Furious, everything was about drifting your car. So it's kind of, you have to go into what the current thing is going on right now. And there wasn't a lot of people that could do the things that, you know, Jackie Chan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they couldn't do the physical stunts, and they would do a lot of their own stunts because there's not two Arnolds everywhere. You know, he did have a stunt double, but there was not a lot of him.
Yeah.
There's only one. What was he? The Mr. Universe.
Mr. Universe. Yeah.
There's only one Mr. Universe.
Ironically, the only American action martial artist we've ever had has probably been Chuck Norris. Everybody else has been from a different country.
Somebody else.
Or Jason Statham.
That roundhouse kick right to the
Jason
back.
Statham's not American.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's British.
Van Damme's not American. Like, you got a lot of.
There's very few.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Steve
my
Austin.
boy, Bruce
And
Leroy.
No, he is.
My Leroy, yes.
So Chuck Norris is the only ginger you don't make fun of.
I didn't know he was
Well,
ginger.
wasn't this
Is he a
isn't
ginger?
quite the same level, but what about wasn't Cynthia Rothrock American? And she had a good string of movies.
Let
well, I
me
don't want to say
Google who
good,
Cynthia-
but
Who is that?
she had a string of movies that, like, in the martial arts world and stuff like that.
We had China. I'm just kidding.
she is American. I can
Yeah.
see she's American.
I've never seen her movies. I'll have to check that out.
Hey, when did the Xena movie come out? Xena Warrior Princess. Is
That was the
80s?
90s because I used to watch.
That was
Yeah,
my
I
shit.
think that was the
I love
90s. I think that was
show.
the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
And
I
then
do not know a
Hercules
single.
after.
I don't know any of these movies, Kirby.
Bro, those fall into like the level of like Steven Seagal, a lot of
Straight to
those,
DVD, straight to
a lot of those
VHS.
Chuck Norris
Oh.
movies.
What's
I
the
can't
person's
forget
name?
Michael J. White. Michael J. White got some films.
What was the
Oh,
person's name
true.
for me?
Very true.
Cynthia Rothrock.
Yeah, Michael J. White has Michael J. White's like pretty legit, actual. Like,
Yeah.
as if that dude's like trained. He used to train with Kimbo Slice a bunch, like and whatnot. Like that dude can actually fight. Like
I don't think I've seen any of Cynthia's films.
I've never seen them, but I'm down to watch them. She's no Michelle Yeoh, but you know, we'll take.
Oh, there
we'll
you go,
take
there
a
you
peek, dude.
Michelle Yeoh's great. I still need to see Everything Everywhere.
She's so darn pretty too.
I need to see that.
Kicking
I need to
ass.
see
It looks so good. Did everybody answer that topic
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
I think we got that one.
So getting to the important stuff. What is your guys' favorite 80s action movie and why? And ladies first, so we're starting with you, Lauren.
There were a lot, and one that I probably watched the most would be RoboCop. That I just, it was so bloody. Like if you go on YouTube, they have a count on how many windows get broken and all that stuff. And oh my gosh, I really like RoboCop.
RoboCop's a classic. I like try to remake it. I don't.
Oh God! Oh,
So
don't
bad.
even talk about it. It pissed me off so freaking mad. Like it's a whole thing. Don't ever bring up the remake.
You didn't like the remake? I loved his armor. Oh
Okay.
man.
Question.
Yeah.
Why does he have one human hand? What is the point of that?
Because they wanted to keep part of his humanity.
And his face doesn't do that.
No.
What's with the hand? The hand
you-
is so fragile. Like,
That's an extra
I'm a
$3
badass,
million.
but look at my hand. No, it pissed me off so. I was so pissed. I saw it in the theater. I was so pissed.
That's an extra $3 million of mechanical machinery to put in his hand, and it was a perfectly working hand. Now he can feel stuff.
Well, you know what?
No,
He can
you
have
can
one
feel
finger of
things.
that hand. So no, don't
Hey,
mess with my
What a
childhood.
trigger! What a trigger!
Oh,
What a
the
trigger!
remake is
What
such
a
trigger.
trigger!
His one hand that he could feel stuff with, she didn't like. You just wanted
Yeah.
to make him all cyborg.
Just really wanted
No,
to take
you-
that from him.
Okay, so
Kirby drinking his high noon.
why remake a movie that is gold? Don't touch gold.
To make it platinum, baby.
Like Disney.
No.
Why do you remake anything?
I
My
like the
name.
new Judge Dredd.
Judge
Oh,
Dredd
that
was
was good.
great.
The new Judge Dredd was a different one because the original was more like comedic a little bit, and this one was more serious.
It was solid.
Fair.
Just like RoboCop, the remake was a comedy because that shit could never happen.
She got gums good.
Oh, wait a minute. She was coming at me this whole time? I thought we were just
Oh, yeah,
talking.
look at
I thought we were just having a conversation.
I didn't know I was being like attacked or anything.
You hit Lauren with the fake dummy hand, man.
I just thought, he could use a hand.
It was a
He
good
can
one.
use a finger.
Kirby, are you also a big fan of RoboCop?
No. Okay. So RoboCop's not my pick.
This is why Brian's my favorite.
Yeah, right.
I've
You
got
about
a
to pick up that
tie.
ring.
Oh man, I changed my name today at the DMV. Oh, should have waited one more day.
If only you, if
Brian,
only
do
you
you
had
mind-
waited another 4
Jump the
hours,
gun.
right? Damn.
Jump the gun.
Kirby, do you mind raising your hands for me? I just want to make sure they're either both human or both robotic.
They are both human hands.
Okay.
No. All right. So mine, I've got a tie. It is between Predator and Aliens. Now, and that is, I'm a huge fan of the Aliens and Predator series, just in general. My favorite game of all time is Aliens versus Predator 2. Not the shit one that came out in like 2010, 2012, whatever, the one that came out in 2002. It's far superior.
The video game or legendary?
But yeah, so it's kind of between Predator and Aliens. That I just love both of those movies, both of those series in general. So yeah,
Gums.
So my favorite 80s movies, even though you asked for one, are going to be Running Man, Conan, Beastmaster, Big Trouble in Little China.
Big Trouble in Little China is a fucking great movie.
That's a great
So
list.
it is an amazing list, and I'm very proud of myself that I only kept it to that many.
I'm proud of you. Too.
You were holding yourself back there a little bit.
I was. I was.
What about you, Pat? How you feeling?
I'm gonna kind of cheese it a little bit here because I had to look it up because I wasn't 100% sure, and this movie came out in August of '79, so I'm off by 4 months here. But
That's
I'm
fine.
going
We'll
with
count
I'm going with Apocalypse Now.
Does not count.
It's not. Ow! Damn. Okay. But I, for some reason, I don't know why, I loved Robert Duvall's character, the captain that was in the helicopter that was super stoked to go surfing in a war zone, and they're like unloading the surfboards like on the front lines in Vietnam, like going to go paddle out while shells are going off in the ocean. I always thought that was like one of the funniest goddamn scenes for some reason because I was like, dude. I just couldn't imagine just being out there and being like, yeah, I'm going to go catch some waves while I'm getting just absolutely bombed on by the Viet Cong. Yeah, totally. That's what's going to happen right now. But I thought that was a badass movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was his quote in that is like, I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah, I love the smell of napalm in the
There
morning.
goes mine.
Did you see that video that I sent to the text thread with Nicolas Cage? That's why he changed his name.
Oh yeah.
From Nicholas Coppola to Nicolas Cage. It's
Luke
because every like the movies that he would go on, people would be like referencing that's like, I love the smell of Nicholas Coppola in the morning, stuff like that. Like
Oh,
referencing
really?
that movie, like yeah. And he's like, it made it very difficult to work, so I just changed my name.
I have a question. Can I count Raiders of the Lost Ark as an 80s action film?
No.
What year did it come out?
I thought it was. Is it not?
Yeah, it's an 80s film.
movie. It's an 80s film.
But
isn't
can
it?
we count it as an action?
What was there action in it?
Yeah, a little bit.
It was
Then
adventure.
sure.
Adventure. Okay,
It's
fine.
kind of
I
an
mean,
adventure movie.
it's an
kind of
adventure movie. Then we're going.
Harrison Ford, I count it.
We're going Predator
I
because
count it.
I freaking love that movie.
For what it's
Yeah.
worth, I was gonna give it to you. The other two, they just said no.
I know.
They just said,
Yeah.
I'm
really
No,
fine with it.
I'm for it.
I'm fine
they
with
said,
it.
no,
Yeah.
they didn't. They were gonna
Nope.
shut you down,
Nope.
Seth. Let it be
Yeah,
known,
they were
I was
gonna
the one who was
Thank
gonna
you,
say
Pat.
They were
yes
going to
for
shut you
I was
down,
that
and when I
guy,
say
yeah.
they,
I love
it was
Indiana
me.
Jones. So
it was me.
Commando's also great. Freaking
Yeah, Going Commando's
Cobra?
great. Let's go.
and
Was
I
Cobra?
love Rambo. Rambo's freaking awesome. It's gotten a little weird.
Do you know what
since.
Rambo means?
No idea. I just know it's a badass movie.
Take a guess, real quick.
But don't make fun of me on this
Real
podcast.
quick,
Okay, I don't
that's
even know
okay.
what I'm doing.
Do you know what it means, though, Rambo?
I have no idea. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
What is it?
Oh, I had no idea, man. I just
He's actually just wondering.
I knew that was gonna happen. This motherfucker. Get out of here, Gums.
Hey, I'm leaving.
This guy. Do you know what Rambo means? Oh, it doesn't mean anything. It
It's
means
his name.
Sylvester Stallone is the badass. That's basically what that means.
What a great run he had.
He's still running.
Still having,
He's
yeah.
still having movies. I just watched
oh.
the last Rambo film that he did. It was on
Yeah.
Netflix. It was pretty good. It was very bloody.
Yeah.
A lot of heads were
I
flying.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still running might be a bold term to use for it, but
He's
yeah.
still
He's not
moving.
running.
Still
You
He's
see how they do me,
Yeah.
Pat?
He's still
You see how they do me? The guy's
jogging.
basically guest starring in movies, and they're,
Yeah.
Hey, he's still making the Expendables. So there's another one coming out.
Again, another one. Why?
They added Megan
But,
Fox
Why-
this time around.
That's another franchise. Just fucking chalk it,
Bro, the
Good.
Expendables is the Fast and the Furious for 80s action movie stars. That's what
Yeah.
the Expendables is.
It's
Fair.
it's bad.
Jet
It's
Li's
just-
in
it's
it.
Not good.
Statham. Pretty sure Chuck Norris
Hey.
was in one of them.
because Statham is in both Fast and the Furious and the Expendables. Do you think we could see a crossover there?
I think it's
Yeah.
more likely to get a crossover
Yes.
of Jurassic Park and Fast and the Furious before that.
Oh, that's
happens.
right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Chris Pratt was racing dinosaurs, so it's only a matter of time. Did everybody go there? I can't keep track after Gum's just annihilating all of us.
Well, sorry.
So the 80s had like a crap ton of, action hype. I mean, this was like the time for those types of films. Why do you guys think that it was so popular during the 80s and kind of just spurred that whole thing? So I'm going to start with you, Lauren.
The same thing as I was saying before. I think it was just the time of, the Reagan era of just like USA, and a lot of war movies came out. And I think it's the whole, and this happens with all movies. One comes out, it does so well that everyone jumps on the action train, so to speak. So I think it was just an overdone action time, and they kind of do the same thing now. Like you'll have like a sci-fi era where a couple years it'll all be sci-fi movies, and in a couple eras it'll all be racing cars, and it's just that time. So we'll see what the next thing comes, if it's all sci-fi or what. But I do think it's all about timing, because some of the movies that they made back then, if they were brand new movies with that script, they would get shut down. There wasn't a lot of Karens out there saying, "You can't do this, you can't do that." It was just like everything was coming out, and it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's a lot of red tape on movies now, and it's just the whole. And I'm sorry to say it, but everyone has an opinion, and it's just like you can't just have good movies anymore without someone being pissed off about it. And now studios are so afraid, the whole Johnny Depp thing, they're so afraid of displeasing a majority of people or a couple people that they won't make the movies that they want to make.
Yeah, I will say I think that there's a lot of, you're starting to see a lot of these kind of, and I also think it's part of the way that we consume media, because of how big these like kind of off streaming platforms are becoming, and like watching things online. You are starting to see some of these smaller studios kind of come out of the woodwork and making the movies that they want to make, and they're starting at film
Not rated.
festivals, and then they become these fucking fantastic big time movies that like you just won't see coming, and all of a sudden some movie comes out of nowhere and you're like, this thing's great, and it'll be these fantastic, that'll win all these awards, and those will do super well because they're doing what you're saying, they're making the movie they want to make. And versus now what may be commercially successful is going to be like a Marvel flick, and that's like the difference now, I think, a lot of ways in a lot of the filmmaking styles and things.
Well,
But-
Deadpool's a perfect example.
True.
No one
Deadpool
wanted to
is-
make Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then someone leaked it, Ryan Reynolds. Someone
Yeah.
leaked it.
Somebody,
So.
Thank God he
somebody
did.
leaked it. Yeah.
Thank God he did.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Thank God.
No, Rob Liefeld actually lives not too far from us.
That's true. I think it was a lot of drugs happening in the 80s. You know,
Facts.
if you watch some of these movies, it's a lot of
15-hour days on cocaine. We can do this.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of boardrooms that were just all coke heads, just fucking
Yeah.
throwing it at the wall.
yeah. Well, I really think it's like towards like the end of the 70s, you kind of started to see like the momentum in action movies start to pick up. We had things like wasn't like the first Terminator.
First Terminator,
Was
and then the second one
around
was
that time.
94.
Yeah, like I think it started like the ball started to roll at the late 70s, and then we hit the 80s and things just kind of exploded. And I think at that time everybody wanted to see like this sensationalized stories and like these crazy action things, and that like it just kind of fed into itself because Hollywood is just like it emulates itself constantly. Like you see some success here, 7 other companies are doing the same thing to try and capitalize on it. So it just kind of snowballed. I do think that like the success of like Terminator definitely kind of kicked it into high gear, but yeah, I think it was just, again, like as we've talked about, it's the era. It was the time. It was the perfect time. It was like the public was ready for it. That's kind of what they were looking for. They saw some success building and everybody just jumped on that bandwagon. And once that started to taper off, they just cut it and moved on to something else.
Well, kind of to go off of the whole Terminator thing. So another thing you have to consider is, Terminator, RoboCop, Total Recall. They had these new like puppeteering things that had never been seen before. So they had some new technology. So, for example, the Terminator, when he blows off his ear, that's, a mechanical face. Aliens use a lot of puppetry. So puppetry actually got very popular where they were pushing that into movies, and they did a lot of practical effects. Now, I love any movie that does practical effects. I love. So they have, the blood packs right there and they're squirting it out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that wasn't something that they ever saw before. So I feel like even though like computers weren't as popular back then as they are right now, they did still have a lot of effects that were new age effects that were coming into play in the late 80s and early 90s. But
It is crazy to think, like, you guys bringing up like the different eras and stuff. It's like, and how movies have changed, like going up, to the Marvel universe. It's crazy to like all of the different genres of movies, like, and how they've changed. Like from Austin Powers, like you couldn't make an Austin Powers today.
Oh God, no.
And like these action films, they're cheesy. Nobody wants cheesy anymore. They want like the best technology. And it's kind of crazy to see that how much movies and things have changed over the years when you really think about it.
I can't get out of my head just the image of a bunch of guys in a fucking boardroom doing cocaine. Like, oh, so Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be this dude from the future, and he's going to kill the fuck out of everybody. Do another one and just say, so there's this robot cop, and he's going to come in. And that's how they made all of the movies in the 80s.
what is it
And
with
you can't convince
pink
me
slip
otherwise.
hookers?
Yeah, like blue chip. Yeah, blue chips.
A blue chip hookers, sorry.
Blue chip hookers. Yeah.
I mean, it makes
Ooh.
sense. There was a lot of other films that released that weren't action films that were very like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's-
like you can
it's-
see like the evolution of it too. Like in the 80s, it had that whole cheesy appeal. And
Yes.
As you shifted into the 90s, people were starting to like the greater public was looking more into like movies with a more serious tone.
Yes.
And you see like the action movie genre kind of start to parody itself because it tried to evolve with the times. I love 90s action movies. Face Off, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Great movie.
But like you can see it try to change its tone. It became a little less like campy, a little less like cheesy. And they became a little bit more serious, a little bit more rooted in what would be considered reality. I mean, still sensationalized, but they toned it down. And I feel like the action movies kind of dropped off at that point, and then as the 2000s came in, it just went more sci-fi, and like there's been an evolution that kind of goes with the time. But yeah, everything just runs its cycle, and it's not really nothing's ever decade specific, but it feels like you can discern like an 80s action movie from a 90s action movie from a 2000s action movie. So.
And it's the same kind of discussion that we had with like the scary movies. The other discussion about why do people like scary movies? So I do also think that as well, where a lot of the action movies, but it really depends on what's going on in the world. So you want some distraction, you want some explosion, something that's not going to make you think so much. And then I kind of felt like we went into a world where it kind of reversed, where we have all these real life wars and real life tragedies. Now it's like, okay, well, we want something sci-fi, something that isn't something we see every day. So I do think that depending on what's going on in the world kind of goes with what's and what's really awesome is all these like sci-fi movies that are coming out, they're all like books that were written years ago and they couldn't be made because the audience wasn't there. And it's kind of awesome to know that they kind of just had to wait until their time to shine, and this is their time to shine.
Also, kind of like a side point is during the 80s, like all of these movies came out back to back. Like it feels like now movies take years and years to actually get like a sequel. Yeah. So I think that also plays a part in it too.
And I mean, they had.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say they had more like drive-in theaters. Back in the 80s and somewhat the 90s, there wasn't a lot of like internet, there wasn't a lot of 7 million channels available to you in your living room. So it was more of like, let's grab the kids, let's all go to the drive-in, let's all go to the theater. So it was more of something to do, like I'm gonna age myself, but it's Friday night, let's go to Blockbuster and rent some VHSs. And
hey, you're not that old. I worked at Blockbuster. Okay.
Did you? Well, yeah. All right, the warehouse. I'm gonna go to the warehouse and get my my VHSs, and we're gonna watch and rewind and take them back.
I would bring over my Hollywood videos movies just to piss off your Blockbusters.
Hey man, I was an equal opportunity renter. I went to both.
I used to rent the like PlayStation. They used to rent game systems out of there, and I used to rent the game systems.
They did that. I never set foot in a Hollywood.
Well, maybe if you were a little older, Seth, you'd understand our struggle.
There was one down the street. Like there's a Blockbuster and a Hollywood Video right across the street from each other. But we always went to Blockbuster.
Just beefing. They're just beefing, man.
Did I ever tell you I met DMX at my Blockbuster?
What'd he say?
He actually was really like the nicest person ever. I met him with, I don't know if it was one of his girlfriends at the time, but he had like 5 kids with him. He apparently like fake joked robbed our manager. Like he was like just joking around and she thought it was serious. And one of my coworkers like had to calm the situation down. But DMX was a great guy. He's a great guy.
We kind of went off on a tangent. Who still has to answer this question, by the way?
Both. No idea. Just Gums, because Pat was talking about how they did cocaine.
Everything you guys said was pretty much what I would have said, but in a much more longer version. So
we're very verbose sometimes.
I would have given a long version of that.
Yeah, I don't even have to answer this. Y'all answered it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on.
Sign of the times, drugs.
Cocaine's in the boardrooms.
Drugs. Mostly drugs.
Mostly drugs.
I think people need to do
Who
drugs
was doing
again.
the most of them? Just kidding.
You can tell now people don't do as many drugs because all they do is keep recreating the same shit.
Yeah.
So I think now people need to do the drugs. So
do we need to bring drugs back into the boardroom?
Yes.
That's the topic we need to have.
Yeah.
Remember those commercials for pot and the kids would melt and fall into the seats? Well, you know what?
We need that.
The girl becomes the couch kind of thing.
Yeah. No, the Rachel Lee Cook, she like throws the eggs on the pan. She's like, this is your brain on drugs.
Now all I see is hey, I can't breathe very well. You should stop vaping. Those are the commercials I see now. It's like, oh man, what happened to the
Took all the
brain
fun out of it.
fries and the What
Remember
happened to
the
weird
dog
stuff?
that would judge me in the corner because I'm
Yeah.
stoned. Yeah, like,
These commercials are whack, man.
Hey, that dog was stoned in the commercial too. Don't it's not fooling anybody.
Actual facts.
It ate
It was
the edible on the counter.
colorblind kid.
So, moving away from drugs, because it's not the topic of the podcast, we were talking about 80s action films, and one of the most important aspects of the action film is the action star. So,
Okay.
who
I'm
was your
with you.
favorite action star from the 80s and why? And I'm going to start with Lauren, because, can't do it. Can't
I
hear you,
have to
Lauren.
say Arnold's. Oh,
There
can you
go.
hear me now?
Yep.
I'm gonna have to say Arnold Schwarzenegger. I want to say with confidence I've seen 90% of his movies, and I grew up with Arnold Schwarzenegger, so that was my action star. Yeah,
And the
enough
Governator.
said.
You even have
Yeah.
the Governator.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's mine as well.
and that's what.
That's why we're married. That's the only reason.
Thank you, Arnold.
Factual.
Thank
So he
you.
just redeemed himself from RoboCop.
Yeah,
Is that
there
what we
you go.
got? Okay.
I guess
Yeah.
Bruce Willis doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
you can't have it all, but take what you can get.
For all of the
no,
Bruce
like-
Willis and Die Hard talk we've had in this podcast, he would be ashamed to hear you say that he's not your favorite.
Sorry.
Well,
Sorry,
you
Bruce.
said 80s, and he was more of a romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did more romance.
He
in the
lost
80s.
points from his romantic comedies. Sorry.
Yeah, Blind Date. Thank you very much.
It definitely is Arnold. Like some of my favorite movies to throw on, like nostalgic movies, like they're Arnold
T2?
movies.
But that's
Like the Terminator movies, Predator, going down to like Kindergarten Cop and True Lies.
I
Shit
think
like
you
that.
mean
Just-
going up.
True, going up.
Yeah, kindergarten cop, baby.
Kindergarten Cop is amazing.
That's a great film.
Choppa.
Low key.
So
Turbo
I don't know.
Man.
It's definitely just it's Arnold's like 100%.
I mean, you got to jingle all the way there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And that's a Minnesota movie, so I love it
great
because
film.
I'm
There you go,
from
there you
there, and they filmed that shit in downtown St. Paul, which is amazing.
Oh well, yeah.
Gumps, who's your take? Who's your pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's only one undisputed actions 80s star, and that's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Conan, like that was one of Conan the Destroyer. That's like one of my all-time favorite
The
movies, and I
Barbarian.
can watch it.
Conan the Barbarian.
Excuse me, yeah, the Barbarian.
I'm so glad that's your favorite movie.
And it is. and I think that
Shots fired.
I don't think that anybody else though can actually beat him. Like I don't think
no,
anybody can
no.
beat him in that time. And the only person that could come up to him was Sylvester Stallone.
Ralph Lundgren
So-
was
Dolph Lundgren.
or Ralph.
Oh, I'm glad you know that you're Ralph's.
Ralph Macchio.
Well, we're
That's
going
what I
off the
meant.
fucking rails here. Holy
Yeah, we
shit.
are.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Cutwater.
So we
Brought to you by Cutwater Spirits.
we got three Arnold.
I do want to let you guys know that Conan the Destroyer was actually the film, but he was
Yeah.
Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
So
Barbarian.
I didn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Fair.
Pat.
Yeah, I'll say too because like I think like to these guys' points, I think Arnold is definitely probably, but like I do like that Gums brought up Sylvester Stallone because I think that like Arnold was definitely the '80s unequivocally, but like I think Sylvester obviously just because of like the way Rocky played out too, because like Rocky was more of a '70s flick, right?
Yeah.
But then he turned it and was going into Rambo, which was '80s, and kind
Yeah.
of did more into that. So it's like that greater span might make him kind of take the top in terms of like a greater body of work. But like Arnie was definitely the '80s at its
Yeah.
core. Like I think he definitely had a better portfolio, like literally just within that decade, kind of thing. So I like the call. I think for some variety, I'll throw in the honorable mention to Sylvester Stallone to take that cake.
Well, I mean, his best movie ever has to be Italian Stallion. So I mean,
True, very true. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking up Sylvester's because I want to say, but I feel like Schwarzenegger was the '80s.
Yeah.
Like there's
he
Yeah.
was.
and I mean he's
I mean,
done so many classic
Jean-Claude
films.
was more 90s, right? Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude just
Yeah.
didn't reach the same level
No.
at all.
He was
tried, but-
he was late 80s, early 90s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yes, he didn't hit the same stride. He was in some big flicks, and he was definitely a well-known, like, he was the action guy, but not nowhere near Arnie. That's for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Not
So
even in size.
Arnie just had the better movies. Like, let's
Yeah.
face
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
just
Without
had
question.
the better
Better
roles.
agent.
Yeah, definitely a
So-
better agent.
Okay, so I want to pose this question here. So I don't know if you, Kirby.
Yep. Go for it.
Who is your favorite? Like, what is your favorite Arnold movie from the '80s? Since everybody picked Arnold.
Ooh.
Conan the Destroyer.
That's
Yeah,
your
you
Was that
have
80s?
said that.
Conan.
Thought that was
Was Conan 8? That's actually a good question. I have no idea.
Yeah,
It's 80s?
I'm like
Yeah.
I'm like 90%. Let me. Now you're making me Google shit. I'm
Yeah,
like
I gotta
90% positive.
see. Yeah.
Yes, 82.
Thank you.
Ooh. 82 Barbarian,
Sonja.
84
Oh,
Destroyer. So Barbarian was first. Ha!
Okay. I had to double check the date before I said it, but it's still gonna be Predator.
Yeah, it was the '80s Predator.
What a great. That was a
Yeah.
good flick, dude.
Ooh, I
It's
didn't
great.
know Twins was 88, so that's technically a...
Hey.
I love.
Oh, there you go.
I love Predator, but I gotta go Terminator. Like that's
There you go.
that's such an iconic movie.
I gotta say, if when you say Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s, the only thing that comes to my mind is Terminator.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the first. I think that's got to be count for something, right? I think that's kind of what that's got. There's got to be something to be said for that.
You've never seen Red Sonja, then?
I haven't.
Red Sonja, yeah.
How
I haven't
about
seen
Raw
Red Sonja,
Deal?
actually.
So
Raw
many-
Deal. That
Yeah.
was.
Raw deal.
Good old
Yeah.
Arnold.
Commando.
I
There's
have
so
a
many.
feeling this next segment here is gonna just. I feel like
Yeah.
everybody's gonna have an
Arnold-
Arnold saying. So
Arnold was built like a goddamn GI Joe figure or something.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
He
Yeah.
is.
Dude was built like an action figure. It was great.
Well,
I mean, he did play an action figure in a movie, Turbo
And
Man.
it's also
He
just
did.
an insane amount of HGH, but you know, that's you know,
Hey.
like,
So
That's neither here nor there.
one
yeah.
of my favorite Arnold quotes is the quote I use almost every time I work out. And it's, if it's fat or if it jiggles, it is fat. So that's one of my favorite Arnold. If it jiggles, it is fat.
Is that your favorite '80s one-liner? Because that's what we're about to discuss.
No, because that was a documentary.
oh,
Yeah.
can't use that.
Oh, that was the
Pumping Iron.
Mr. Olympic or whatever that documentary that he did about that. That shit was great.
What
where he's
is
like
your
smoking a J.
Yeah, the whole time, like.
What is your favorite one-liner, Lauren, from the '80s?
From the 80s, oh gosh. There's so many of them. I do like the whole, I ain't got time to bleed. And he's like, smokes a cigar. Like,
Yeah, it is a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Kirby?
there's so many though.
There's a lot.
I mean, I was going to say a RoboCop one, but apparently RoboCop is a sore subject for some people.
For you.
For you.
Take
my good
hand.
I'm going.
Take my good hand.
I'm going with. So it's coming from Commando. You know, we gotta paint this scene. You know, it's the final fight, and you know they're going at it. Arnold picks up a big ass fucking pipe and chucks it, and it impales the guy into like this fucking
Water.
like heater or something like that, and all this steam's coming out, and he's like, let off some steam. That was it. That's it because
actually
it's just so
amazing.
ridiculous. Yeah.
The most quotable one is, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Gums, what about you?
Mac, you son of a bitch.
My favorite 80s quote is I don't step on toes, I step on necks.
Yeah, that's a
So
That's a good one.
Chuck Norris, little Chuck
That's
Norris.
Chuck Norris, right? Yeah.
Yeah, little Chuck
I don't
Norris.
step on
shout out.
toes.
Pat, what you got for us?
I one of the corniest used lines ever is, I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm all out of bubble gum.
And while we're
Yes.
at it, keep your sandals on. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't step on toes.
Oh shit.
Isn't it
80s
like
were fucking weird,
Oh,
man.
the
Like,
80s,
what the fuck was
Oh,
going
the
on in the
80s.
80s? Oh, yeah, that's
I'll
right.
tell you what's
Awesomeness.
going on.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
mine? It's got to be from Predator when my boy just freaking meets up with what I'm trying to think of with Dylan. He just goes, "Dylan, you son of a bitch." And just the zoom in on the muscles.
Yeah.
And it just sits there for like 5 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
It's the best fucking
like,
thing.
Veins popping everywhere.
So fun fact for the listeners, that's how we ended our wedding ceremony.
Did you really?
Did you really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on camera.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah, we
please
have
see
our
this?
wedding video. Yeah.
We're going to make it
Well,
exclusive
you'll
for
see
our
it. You'll see
viewers.
it. Yeah.
Add us on Patreon
we have-
in order to view.
Yeah, right?
I'll send you guys the video. But yeah, that's how we ended it. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And then we leaned down in my dress. I was just like that.
Did you go,
great.
Kirby, you son of a bitch? Just
And so it's funny. I won't go into the wedding, but we did a couple movie references. And after my mom was very confused, so I sent her the clips, and she's like, "Oh my god, it makes so much sense now."
We made our officiant do the short version from Spaceballs.
oh my god.
And my mom was so confused.
I love the
That's
dedication. This is
Yeah.
why we have the movie podcast.
So I tell you what, this is what we're gonna do. They're gonna send us over this video so we can watch this,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna slowly fade it out in vinaigrette, and it's just gonna be like Mortal Kombat, and then just fade away. It's just gonna fade away as their life
gotta
starts
do it
together.
You gotta do it right at like the click, the smack too.
Yeah, right.
Like, ready to go. It's like,
You gotta like spin it like
Right
the old
there.
Batman and spin it.
yeah. That's
Oh, what a transition!
your
Guys,
wedding
anyway.
video is just a shitty '80s montage. It's just like-
Oh, yeah.
Just John
That
McClane
would
blowing
make-
up the cake.
That would make me so happy.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, you
I was
know
saying,
that'd be
I would
lit
love
too.
Yeah. Can you please send us
What's
this?
funny is
Send us the
everything
video. We're
he's
gonna
like-
edit it.
Okay.
So what's funny
the
is like
original.
every time he would say something, I'm like, should we? I'm like, hell yeah, we should. I'm like, we're doing it.
All about
Son
it.
of a bitch, I'm in.
You son of a bitch. You had me at I do.
Anyway.
Yeah,
getting off topic here.
before we continue on with off-topic subjects, this, by the way, was our best podcast yet. I'm just throwing that out there. But on that note, comes use those muscles and send us away.
Well, like they used to say in the '80s, this episode was bitchin', and we'll be back next week. Let's keep it rolling.